Welcome to my channel. It's Egwin here from Beyond Systems. We have the next update, the next daily update in this 1 month of movement with daily updates and daily movement exercises. Today we are talking about a more strength-oriented movement, but still with the additional aspects of perception. So for those of you who do not know what we are doing here, or what I'm talking about, at the moment, we are doing one movement exercise that relates to certain aspects of mobility, flexibility, training, perception, coordination, and so on. And sometimes I give additional nuggets on how that relates to grounding or emotional or mental stability and so on as well. Today, we are focusing on an exercise that will engage your oblique muscles as well as your transverse muscles. It will also work on shoulder stability and just overall arching and understanding of the big connections in our body. If you want to stay up to date with this and also watch the other videos, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, and like and share this video as well if you have any friends that might be interested in stuff like that. Now, without any further ado, let's jump into the exercise. We are going to do a side plank position with the forearm as the grounding element for the upper body. Basically, this looks like this. One arm is on the ground, and the legs go out to the side like this. Pay attention, the knee is here, not on the ground. What I want is, I want my upper arm to be pretty much exactly underneath my shoulders. What I definitely try to avoid for this exercise is having the arm closer to the body so that the shoulder actually hangs out over the side. I rather want the arm to be a little bit further away from my body so that it supports me creating this side arch. But again, ideally just directly underneath the shoulder, like this. In this side plank position, before we even go into this position, we have to understand that our core is absolutely important in this position. If we just hang in there, quote unquote, so we are here and we just trying to somehow lift ourselves up, but we do not engage our core in any specific sense, then this can become uncomfortable for the lumbar spine. So the question is, first of all, what are the things that we can do to properly create this arch in a side plank, forearm side plank? One, okay, we will engage our shoulder muscles in order to push the arm down and lift the thorax up sideways. What does this mean? When I'm in this position here, my hip is currently still on the ground. First of all, I want a straight line through my body. I don't want anything like this. Bringing the chest up, that's a task that happens from my intent of pushing the left arm down into the ground. The second component to it all is the idea of pushing through my legs, namely and mainly the lower leg in a bow into the ground and the upper leg to wherever it is. So maybe we lift the upper leg off the lower leg, then we still want to push it away from the hip in the direction where the leg goes. Does this mean if I'm here, I push my arm down into the ground and slightly out, and I push my legs out this way? This will already lift the hip up as well. Now there is one more component, and that is this central part. In this central area here, in a side plank, you mainly use the oblique muscles on the underside of your body. But it's a good idea to Also actively pull the navel in and try to pull it slightly upwards towards the side here as well. When you do this, it will stabilize also the top part of your hip a little bit more. Is this absolutely necessary? No, there are more passive ways to do it, but for now I want to stick with this coordination for a specific reason that will unveil itself shortly. So from here, legs down, arm is pushing into the ground, the legs are pushing away. And my core, see now I have my belly hanging out, I engage my belly, and even before I lift, I try to pull the lower side of my belly slightly in and back up towards the spine. This will then give me this stable component here. In this position, let's try to lift the upper leg up. When you do so, make sure that the upper leg pushes away, the heel of the upper leg pushes away, and it's not just a lifting the leg upwards. Why? When we're here in this pose, and my main focus is on lifting the leg up, what happens often is that my hip gets pushed down because I lose my direction, I lose my bow, because suddenly the focus goes up, a little bit more weight is added on top of the hip, and it comes to this sacking down. And what we try to do is keep that elongation in the body while we lift the leg. No matter how far we lift it, whether that's just 30 centimeters or it's literally all the way up to the side, doesn't matter here. We always try to, from here, keep it pushed out and away from the body. Then this will also help us to stabilize the hip position rather than the hip position going down when we lift the leg. In this side plank pose, try to play a little and see if you can arch and round your back. So now I have a hollow front, then I have a hollow back. Hollow front, hollow back. Why are we doing this? Is it challenging? Yes. Will you maybe feel it next day if you haven't done this before? Maybe. Why are we doing it? Because stability is never supposed to be stiffness. And what this opening the front, opening the back teaches you is to reduce the tension required to stabilize this pose to a bare minimum so that a healthy structure can be maintained, and yet you can still move the body rather than it being just one hard, stiff plank. Stiffness always limits the body when it comes to such exercises. There is a place for stiffness, absolutely. Don't take this as the golden rule that must never be broken. There is no rule that must never be broken when it comes to movement. There is a place for almost every single thing that we can do. But in this specific sense, really try to figure out how to coordinate the muscles in such a way that the shape doesn't significantly change in terms of dropping down or pushing up, but you still add a rounded and an arched back to it. And then obviously also switch sides. So the other hand goes down to the ground. Again, we position ourselves in one line to the side. We have a shoulder engagement, we have a leg engagement, we have an initial core engagement to bring us into this side plank position, and then round and arch, and round and arch, and round, and arch, and round, and arch. And again, when you lift the leg, press the heel down, then lift the leg, heel away from the body, and you can lift the leg towards different directions. All right. That being said, let's add one more thing to all of this, which is flexing the leg in the hip joint all the way out towards the front, in my case, towards the camera. And when we do this, then we're gonna add slight side pumps with the hip. Because now suddenly what we are missing when the leg is flexed forward is this pull out of the top part of my hip, which will change the way how we have to coordinate the muscles in our core in order to do the pumps quite a lot with regard to having just both legs pointing into the same direction. So let's jump back into our position number one. One leg is down, other leg on top. I am pretty much straight from my body. I have engagement here, engagement in my legs, engagement in my core. I lift the leg slightly up, bring the leg forward, and now drop the hip a little bit and push it back up. Drop it, push it back up. Drop it, push it back up, bring the leg back in, come down, change sides. Forearm down, legs are out, engagement here, engagement here, engagement in the legs down. Lift the leg up, flex the leg, and now gentle tips with the hip. Down and up, down and up, down and up. And all the way to the side, up, and wiggle it out a little bit. You can go for much more repetitions here if you want. Absolutely fine. For the sake of the video, it's not necessary to do 20 repetitions here. Again, it's about an exploration. What you might realize if you combine what we just did with the flexed leg and compare it with hip dips without the flexion in the leg, or even with a slightly lifted leg out towards the side, you'll realize that a different set of muscles is working. When you dip with both legs together, more engagement is happening in your core. When you dip with one leg out in front, more engagement is happening through the leg and through the abductors in the leg. So that's very interesting how, depending on the starting point, the center of activation shifts through the body. And this is just another component of how you can figure out, okay, I could activate here, I could release here. And then there is a whole other component to this, which is more the passive component of what can I do? How can I position my body in such a way that simply by spanning it open, can use my passive structures, my connective tissue, as an additional support. The reason why I start with the muscle engagement, or I started with the muscle engagement in this specific exercise now, is because, especially with this opening and closing front and back, what this gives you is an edge over the understanding of how to reduce muscular tension in a pose that is typically taught with engage your glutes, squeeze your glutes as hard as you can, or push the arm down into the ground and engage here with the intent of stiffness. So just break out of that idea of pure stiffness as a stability factor. Stiffness is stability gone bad in many cases, not in every. But when we're talking about natural movement, when we're talking about being biomechanically efficient, and we still have a healthy body, then stiffness is most of the time not ideal, because stiffness is something that the body has to work around with and compensate for. And that's the lecture. That's the most important information of this specific video here. All right. Have a beautiful time. See you around tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that, and all the best. See you around. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.